There's an alarming trend that's going on right now in the United States with its biggest American tech companies. And I'm going to start with Microsoft because this is a relatively new story. Microsoft invests 17.5 billion in India as it lays off Americans and imports H-1B visa workers. Now, if you notice, a lot of people are complaining that when they apply for jobs, they're not getting responses at all. And this is another common trend among not only these big tech companies, but a lot of companies for that matter, that people are submitting resumes and applying for jobs and not getting any responses. And I also did a video as well that I'll put in the description, how companies admit, many companies, over half, admit, actually more than half, admit that more than half of the jobs they post are fake for various reasons, which I won't go into now. But a lot of people are wondering, well, why is my resume being ignored? Why am I being ignored? Why can I not get the job that I'm applying for? So Microsoft announced these plans to invest the 17.5 billion in India over the next 4 years. They're going to focus on the country's rapidly growing data center market. Meanwhile, in the United States, the software giant is laying off Americans, importing H-1B visa workers, and cozying up to the Chinese government. This article is from Breitbart, by the way. They're joining the ranks of tech giants Google and Amazon. So it's not just Microsoft that's doing it, it's Google and Amazon. And they're tapping into the country's booming data center market in India. The announcement comes as India experiences a surge in demand for data centers. As if we're not building enough in the United States. Maybe we're not. Driven by factors such as the increasing adoption of cloud computing, the growth of e-commerce, and the government's push for digitization. Now, something tells me that there's a lot of cost savings by doing this and not doing it in America. The Microsoft CEO, Satya Nadella, that's an important name because I want you to know Satya Nadella, which is not mentioned in this article very clearly, is from India. He's running Microsoft. Okay, so that's a very important distinction. That's a very important point to highlight about this story. So this Satya Nadella from Microsoft, who's the CEO, met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in New Delhi on December 9th to discuss the company's investment plans. This substantial investment is expected to boost India's digital infrastructure and contribute to the country's economic growth. It also underscores the importance of India as a key market for global technology companies. The data center market in India has been attracting significant attention from U.S. tech giants due to the country's low costs and the increasing demand for AI and cloud computing services. Google and Amazon Web Services have already announced their plans to invest in India's data center infrastructure, recognizing the immense potential for growth in the country. Microsoft's investment in India's data center market is expected to create numerous job opportunities and support the Indian technology sector. So not only are we importing H-1B visa jobs to replace American jobs, now we're outsourcing infrastructure and we're also outsourcing work to India. And this is all being blamed. The job market and everything is all about AI. When these companies say that we have to lay off all these workers in America because AI is taking over, that's a scapegoat. They're saying that AI is the reason that this is happening, and it's not the real reason. The reason is it's cheaper for these companies. And also, I'm going to go into the ineptitude, the pure ineptitude of these CEOs that are running these companies. These are not the best of the best. that are running these tech giants. These tech giants are struggling. They fall behind. They have to catch up, and they are run by buffoons. And I'm going to go through each individual CEO from not only Amazon, Microsoft, but also Google. The company has already established a strong presence in India. Isn't that nice? With a large workforce and multiple offices across the country. The latest investment will further strengthen Microsoft's position in the Indian market and enable it to better serve its customers in the region. It does a terrible job of serving its customers, period. Microsoft has never been a good company. It's never been a company where their operating systems ever worked. Microsoft has probably cost more money and productivity than it has gained. It's always been poor when it comes to its operating system and its other software. So it's not really, again, a surprise that it's run like this. Breitbart News reported in July that the company is laying off 9,000 Americans, even as it brings in 6,000 H-1B visa workers likely to be from India. So like I said before, they're outsourcing everything and insourcing also. So they're outsourcing to India, infrastructure and labor, insourcing to America, labor from India. Microsoft has recently drawn criticism for its decision to apply for thousands of H-1B visas, even as it lays off a significant portion of its workforce. The move has sparked outrage among some who believe that American jobs should be prioritized, especially during time of economic certainty. Well, if you have a CEO that's from India and he's going to bring in people, where do you think he's going to bring people in from? He has no allegiance to the United States. And that's also part of the problem here. These are huge tech giants being run by idiots from foreign countries. And what do? It's a race to the bottom. So what do they outsource and they bring in labor from the country they're from. They don't care about America. So they get criticism, and what do? They just ignore it because they don't care. According to data compiled by the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Office, Microsoft has applied for 4,712 H-1B visas in the 2025 fiscal year alone. However, anecdotal evidence from former employees and industry insiders suggests that the actual number may be closer to 6,000. I'm sure it's way higher than that, although this figure has not been independently verified. India isn't the only foreign country that Microsoft continues to prioritize. A recent report labeled Microsoft an enduring risk based on its ties to communist China. There is no, again, is there any allegiance to the United States? Is there any prioritization to the U.S.? No, it's to everybody else. But it's expected. It's common sense. For decades, Americans viewed Microsoft as a pillar of national technology infrastructure. That's what I was saying before, an American company originated in America. Its systems power everything from federal email to Pentagon cloud networks. So here you have an Indian CEO that's now going to use China and work with China and work with other foreign countries. So why do you think that we have all of these hacks and all of your, by the way, all of your information's on the dark web because of companies like this, because they're incompetent. They're run by complete morons. They don't know how to take your data and secure it because they're too stupid. And so now this is what they're doing. Now they're going to outsource to China of all places. But meanwhile, they had to shut down TikTok because of China. But yet Microsoft is going to give everything to China. A new report from Horizon, a geopolitical analysis firm, paints a different picture. The report, titled Microsoft and China, an Enduring Risk Profile, and this national security implications. It reveals the story of a tech giant that spent 30 years cultivating deep ties with the Chinese Communist Party. Isn't that great? and its vast security apparatus while embedding itself into nearly every corner in the United States government. And we just let this happen. There's nobody in our government at all that's doing anything about it to stop this. The reckoning began earlier this year when ProPublica exposed Microsoft's quiet reliance on China-based workers to support sensitive Department of War cloud systems. These workers, described internally as digital escorts, were allowed to assist with troubleshooting and maintenance for U.S. military networks. Pentagon officials publicly labeled the practice a breach of trust, but what did you do about it? Microsoft insisted the offshore support was only after-hours tasks and claimed no customer data was directly accessible. Okay, be sure. It's always the same story every single time with these companies. Oh, don't worry, everything's fine. But meanwhile, you're being hacked. So just to give a little bit more background about these CEOs. So Satya Nadella, who is an Indian, born in India, who is the CEO of Microsoft, who's an absolute idiot, missed the early AI wave entirely, by the way. He was forcing Microsoft to rely on an outside company, which was OpenAI, who pretty much kind of, when you talk about AI now, is the first one that I think a lot of people probably realized or knew. They had to rely on OpenAI to stay relevant. They had no breakthrough consumer AI products, despite running the second largest cloud platform in the world. They allowed smaller labs with a fraction of the budget to be Microsoft to market with foundational AI products. Great job, Satya. Failed to foresee ChatGPT becoming the fastest adopted tech product in history, even though Microsoft had full insight into OpenAI's early models. Ceded AI leadership to a partner, meaning Microsoft had to buy its way into the race instead of leading it. They overexpanded cloud spending, especially in CapEx, and CapEx is capital expenditure, meaning building infrastructure, exploding to massive levels while returns underperformed investor expectations. And by the way, this is not just a Microsoft thing. You're starting to see the tech industry collapse upon itself, especially with Oracle, which is a separate story that I'm going to do, who's actually losing money and may end up being in extreme debt because of the circular spending that's going on among these companies, who once again are run by complete buffoons, who are now seeing really no revenue coming from the expenditure, especially the CapEx expenditure that they're laying out for AI. They're not seeing the returns. But once again, this is who's running these companies. They just get a ton of money. I mean, you and I guarantee you who's watching this right now could run a huge tech company. You're way smarter than all these guys. Now, if you had billions of dollars at your disposal, you'd be able to run something very well. But these people are so corrupt and dumb, they can't run a thing. They overexpanded into mass layoffs of American workers timed with a major foreign expansion. So this is one of the other things. So they're like that we've just been discussing. They cut all these American jobs, but yet, and then they blame AI, and then yet there's a huge major foreign expansion, which signals internal mismanagement of workforce planning. Or corruption. Internal AI systems were directionless for years, overshadowed by a scrappy startup that outpaced them. So these little companies are just beating Microsoft and Google and Amazon. They're eating their lunch when it came to AI. They had to play catch up this entire time, and they can't even get that right. They became overly dependent on OpenAI's roadmap, meaning Microsoft does not control the core technology powering its biggest AI products. They're now scrambling to build global data centers after underestimating compute demand, putting Microsoft permanently behind NVIDIA's pricing and availability curve. Let's move on to Sundar Pichai, who's also an Indian who runs Google. There's a pattern here with these companies. is you have people who, these are American companies run by foreigners, and the foreigners are going to take precedence over the country that they're from as opposed to America. And you wonder why your job application is being ignored. Because it's not just these guys. Google, Sundar, sat on LAMDA for years, failing to release it publicly, why OpenAI took massive market share with GPT-3, 3.5, and 4. And we're moving on to 5 now. They let Google's research supremacy collapse, even though Google invented the transformer architecture that powers modern AI. They ignored internal warnings from researchers saying Google will lose the AI race. They ignore a lot of things. They lost the search narrative for the first time in 20 years, allowing ChatGPT to threaten Google's core business. And I remember everybody talking about that. You guys remember that? They rolled out Bard prematurely, which is now what they call Gemini. They had to rename it. It resulted in flawed demos, market embarrassment, and billions in stock value wiped out in a single day. Do you remember when people would search for the founding fathers and they were all African American? They oversaw a culture so risk averse that researchers were punished for pushing boundaries, which directly enabled OpenAI's rise. They underinvested in TPU infrastructure, letting NVIDIA dominate the AI compute stack while Google lagged. Who heard of NVIDIA before Google and Microsoft? These two companies and Amazon couldn't come out before a company called NVIDIA comes out with chips. They allowed DeepMind and Google Brain to fight each other internally, wasting years of potential leadership. They failed to foresee the consumer appetite for AI assistance, despite having Google Assistant, the perfect platform, years before ChatGPT. And of course, they reacted instead of innovating because of the ineptitude of the CEOs, forcing Google into emergency mode once ChatGPT exploded. So both CEOs provided over company, and I haven't even gotten Amazon yet, with unmatched budgets, talent, and compute, yet were blindsided by similar upstarts. Neither company produced a breakthrough consumer AI product before being forced into crisis mode. Both underestimated the speed of the AI revolution, reacting late instead of leading. Both are now copying the innovation roadmap of the very companies they once dismissed. Both allowed internal bureaucracy to crush innovation, and they both became overly dependent on acquisitions, partnerships, and PR rather than in-house breakthroughs. These are all facts. And yet somehow people still want to work for these companies. These companies are still being invested in Wall Street. People are putting their 401ks into these jokes of a company. Let's look at Andy Jassy from Amazon. Here's another person who made it very clear that he does not care about the American worker. In 2021 to 2022, there was a Project Nimbus controversy. Amazon signed a multi-billion-dollar cloud computing deal with the Israeli government called Project Nimbus. Employee groups demanded that Amazon cancel the contract. He rejected those requests and defended the partnership as a normal cloud services agreement, once again siding with a foreign government, not the United States. In 2023, internal pressure intensified. Employee petitions urged Amazon to condemn Israel and cut ties. Jassy does not issue any anti-Israeli statements. It's the status quo. Internal memos emphasize zero tolerance for anti-Semitism inside Amazon. Late 2023 to 2024, renewed employee protest against Project Nimbus. Jassy again refuses to cancel or suspend the partnership. Amazon's official position remains aligned with Israel's right to security. Internal communication continues stressing no harassment of Jewish employees, disciplinary action for anti-Semitic conduct. And then just the internal criticism among his own employees. These are his own employees that are saying this. There was huge activism against Project Nimbus. Hundreds of workers signed letters condemning the deal, protests inside the company offices. And some staff claimed that Amazon was enabling human rights abuses, but Jassy did not bend. So you take these three who were mentioned in the Breitbart article, and you see a clear pattern with just these three. And the clear pattern is America is not worth their time. They don't care. What happens to the American employee is irrelevant to them. And when you wonder why you are not being hired, and you wonder why, and this is what this is a sample to a large population when it comes to statistics. So statistically, you're taking three companies, which are very large tech companies, which is a small reputation of a much larger issue. And that larger issue is Americans are not being hired. Now, you're not seeing this as much in the news because these large companies fund and advertise on these major networks. So if the news, if the alphabet networks, if other companies that provide news talk about this, they're going to lose advertising dollars. So they try to keep this as quiet as they possibly can. So meanwhile, the American worker is trying to figure out, well, what's going on? Is it me? And it's not them. It's not you. It's not you're not the reason why your resume is being ignored. It's because these incompetent CEOs who also blame artificial intelligence are offshoring jobs, and they've been doing this for many years. And now they're accelerating it. And it's because of the people that are at the helm. The CEOs, these C-level people, don't care about America. Hell, I don't even think they care about the company. And the problem is that they're monopolies, so people have to use them. And then you even see the internal employees, the people that are employed there see that things are so bad that they protest and they're just ignored. So this is a very, very serious problem in America, and it's only getting worse. And so if you are wondering what's going on, here it is. And unless more people share this knowledge and share this video and let other people know, hey, listen, this is what's going on. It's not you, but we all have to get together and protest this. You might as well just throw in the towel, because no one is going to help you, because you think Pichai and Nadella and Jassy, you really think they care? They don't. And what's really a shame is they blame AI. And this AI narrative is becoming much more clear that they're blaming AI for their decision making. Oh, well, AI is it's costing, we have to lay off all these people. Well, if you're laying off all these people, why are you hiring all these H-1B visas to replace them? You're saying that AI is the thing that's causing the problem. So AI is the scapegoat. AI has always been this bad guy. And they're not even making money off of AI. Because, just to let you in on a secret, artificial intelligence right now is a chatbot. That's all it is. Everything you hear about is a chatbot. It takes a bunch of information from the internet, and it just does it way better than a search engine does. And in a lot of cases, it can't even do that very well. You go in and you ask it information about something that you really, really know, it's going to come back. It's not going to necessarily give you correct information. You have to go in and correct it yourself. That's what AI is right now. People are fascinated by all these videos and things like that, and that's great and all. But these companies are spending all of this money on infrastructure and chips and everything else, and then they say that the AI is so good they're replacing all these employees. No, they're not. They're not replacing the employees with AI. They are replacing the employees with foreign workers. and they're offshoring. They're sending them to India. And now they're building infrastructure in India because it's cheaper there too. So anyway, let me know what you have to say about this. And there's links in the description for you to learn AI. If you don't understand AI, at least download some of the prompt packages, the AI humanizer. It gets you to learn how to use ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these chatbots. So you start to learn on it because it's still early. So learn the AI, understand the AI. And for those of you who are looking for a job, maybe you can create your own job for yourself. And that's also where I'm going to be focusing a lot more on, is helping people create their own jobs. Why do you need to work for Microsoft and these scumbag companies? They're going to end up collapsing on themselves anyway. It's just a matter of time. These guys that are running it, they don't know what they're doing. They are low quality. Microsoft was never a good company to begin with. I mean, they're just, all their products were terrible. And they just have a history of this kind of crap where they just can't get it together. But go into the description. I mean, they're free. There's some they're paid for if you want to pay for them. But we have some that are free. And learn how to use the AI. And then also we have a Discord group for those who are disenfranchised with how these companies are treating the American worker, about these fake ghost jobs that they're putting out there too. So to add insult to injury, they don't hire you, but then they put fake jobs out on LinkedIn and Indeed and all these other places. So you can go into the Discord group. We don't have anybody in there now, so we're looking to get people to go into it so we can all have this discussion and at least grow a community of some sort in order to fight against or lobby against these companies that are destroying America, because that's what they're doing. So anyway, let me know what you have to say in the comment section, and we'll see you in the next video.